I'm 49 years old, and I was sitting on my couch on a regular Thursday night in March, half watching a Blackhawks game I didn't much care about, when my phone lit up with a text from a number I hadn't seen in 15 years. 3 words. That's all it said. I'm outside. I sat there staring at it long enough that the screen dimmed and went dark on its own. Tom, my older brother. The last time I'd heard his voice was at our father's funeral in 2011, both of us saying things in a church parking lot that neither of us ever took back. Not once. Not in 15 years of birthdays and holidays and every ordinary Tuesday in between, where I thought about calling him, and didn't. I got up and walked to the front window before I'd fully decided to. Pulled the curtain back an inch. There was a car I didn't recognize parked on the street. Engine off, and a shape in the driver's seat I recognized instantly anyway, even from that distance. Even after 15 years, something in the set of the shoulders that 15 years apparently hadn't managed to change. I stood there a long moment, phone still in my hand, trying to figure out what a person is supposed to do with 3 words like that, showing up out of nowhere on an otherwise unremarkable night. I didn't text back right away. I just kept standing at that window, watching the outline of my brother sitting in a car on my street. Engine off. No explanation offered beyond the 3 words already sitting on my screen. 15 years is a long time to build a life around not thinking about somebody. I'd gotten good at it, mostly. Married, had 2 kids who'd grown up not really knowing they had an uncle, built a career I was proud of, filled the space where a brother used to be with enough other things that most days I didn't notice the gap at all. My phone buzzed again. Second text. No expectations. Just wanted you to know I'm here if you want to talk. I'll leave if you don't. That one got me moving before I'd consciously decided to move at all. 15 years of silence, and the man had the audacity to give me an easy out, like that made any of this simpler instead of harder. I grabbed my jacket off the hook by the door, my wife Karen calling something after me from the kitchen that I didn't fully register, and I found myself standing at my own front door with my hand on the knob, heart going harder than a short walk down a hallway should account for. I stood there at that door a lot longer than the situation probably called for. 15 years of things I'd never said came rushing up all at once. Every version of the fight I'd replayed in my head over the years. Every cutting thing he'd said to me in that parking lot. Every cutting thing I'd said right back. My father had been sick for 2 years before he died. Lung cancer that took its time about the worst parts. And I'd been the one showing up to every appointment, every hospital stay, every long night at his bedside, while Tom found reason after reason to stay away. Work, distance, whatever excuse fit that particular week. I'd said as much to him at the funeral, finally, after 2 years of swallowing it down. He'd said some things back about me needing to be the hero of every situation, about how I'd never once let him grieve in his own way, about how I made everything about my own suffering. We'd both walked away from that parking lot certain we were the wronged party. 15 years builds a wall pretty efficiently when you let it. I stood at my own door with my hand still on the knob, some old stubborn part of me arguing that I didn't owe him this, that 3 words on a phone screen after 15 years of nothing didn't earn him an open door. I opened it anyway. He was leaning against his car by the time I got outside, hands in his jacket pockets, looking older than the last image I had of him. Grayer, thinner in a way that struck me as wrong somehow, though I couldn't have said exactly why yet. Neither of us spoke for a good 10 seconds, just stood there on my front walk in the March cold, 15 years of silence taking up more physical space between us than the actual 20 feet did. "Hey," he finally said. Just that, the same low, careful voice I remembered, older around the edges now. "Hey," I said back, which felt inadequate for the moment but was apparently the only word either of us had ready. I know I don't have any right to just show up like this, he said, looking at the ground instead of at me now. I've thought about calling for years, never had the guts. I didn't say anything to that, just stood there in my driveway, arms crossed against the cold, waiting to see what 15 years of silence had actually driven 2 hours down from Milwaukee to say. Can we talk? He asked. Doesn't have to be tonight, just sometime. Soon, ideally. I looked at him a long moment. Then I stepped back from the door and said, Come in, it's freezing out here. Karen took one look at Tom, standing in our front hallway, and quietly gathered the kids upstairs, giving us the kitchen table and whatever space we needed without asking a single question first. 15 years married to me. She'd heard the whole story more than once, knew exactly who was standing in her front hallway, and exactly what it might cost either of us to have this conversation. We sat at that table a long while before either of us worked up to the real subject. Small talk first, his job, my kids, the Bears' terrible season. Both of us circling the actual wound like it might still bite if we got too close too fast. Our mother had spent 15 years trying, gently, to close the gap between us. Every holiday call to me ended with some version of, "Have you talked to your brother?" Every visit to Tom's, I later learned, carried the same quiet question in reverse. She never pushed hard enough to actually force it, just kept the door open on both sides, hoping one of us would eventually walk through it ourselves. "Mom still doing okay?" Tom asked. And I told him yes, mostly, aging the way 76-year-olds do, missing him more than she ever said outright to me. He nodded slowly, something moving behind his eyes I couldn't quite read yet. "I think about Dad's funeral almost every week," Tom said finally, staring down at the coffee I'd poured him, untouched and going cold. "What I said to you. I've had 15 years to figure out how wrong I was, and I never once had the courage to actually tell you that." I felt something old and defensive rise up in me immediately. 15 years of rehearsed arguments ready to deploy at the first opening, but something in his voice stopped me from reaching for any of them just yet. "You weren't entirely wrong," I said instead, surprising myself. "I did make it about me a lot back then. I was so angry you weren't there that I couldn't see straight enough to understand you might have been struggling with it in your own way too." "I was a coward," he said flatly. "That's the honest word for it. Dad was dying and I couldn't handle watching it happen, so I just didn't. Let you carry all of it instead. And when you finally said something about it, instead of owning that, I turned it around on you because it was easier than admitting you were right." The kitchen went quiet, except for the furnace kicking on somewhere in the basement. 15 years, and we were finally circling something true. "I had a heart attack 3 weeks ago," Tom said, and the words landed heavier than anything else he'd said all night. "Mild. They're telling me. Caught it early, but I spent 2 days in a hospital bed with nothing to do but think. And the thing I kept coming back to over and over was you." I sat very still, coffee cooling, untouched in front of me too now. "I kept thinking about Dad," he continued, voice rougher now. "About how you sat with him every single day for 2 years while I made excuse after excuse, and I realized, lying in that hospital bed, that if I died without ever telling you I saw that, really saw it, saw what it cost you to carry that alone while I ran from it, I couldn't live with that being the last version of us, even if it turned out to be a short version anyway." He finally looked up at me, eyes wet in a way I hadn't seen on my brother since we were kids. "You did something I couldn't do, Brian. You stayed. Every single day when it would have been so much easier not to. I never told you that mattered. I let my own guilt turn into anger at you instead, because it was easier than admitting what a coward I'd been. 15 years of silence. And that was the thing that finally broke it. Not an apology, exactly, but my brother finally seeing, out loud, the weight I'd carried alone the whole time, and naming it for what it was. I didn't forgive him completely that night, and I don't think either of us expected me to. 15 years doesn't dissolve in one conversation at a kitchen table, no matter how honest it turns out to be. What happened instead was smaller, and I think more honest for it. My brother finally said the thing out loud that I'd needed to hear for 15 years, not because I demanded it, but because a health scare had finally made him brave enough to risk saying it. He didn't just apologize, he named exactly what he'd been avoiding, and what it had cost me to carry alone. I don't think silence between family members usually ends with some perfect cinematic resolution. Sometimes it just ends with 3 words on a phone screen and enough courage on both sides to open a door. If there's somebody you've gone quiet with for years, I can't tell you they'll ever send that text. But if you get the chance to open the door yourself, I hope you take it, even scared, even unsure what's waiting on the other side. It's been a few months now. Tom and I talk most weeks. Nothing heavy every time. Sometimes just about the Bears' new coach or what our mother said on her last call to each of us. We're rebuilding something slower and more careful than what we had before it broke. And neither of us is pretending 15 years didn't happen. Mom cried on the phone the first time I told her Tom and I had talked. Real crying. The kind she'd mostly kept private from both of us over the years, not wanting either son to feel responsible for her hope. She's been to my house twice now with Tom there too, something none of us had managed in over a decade. Karen says she notices something lighter in me these days, some old tension she'd stopped even registering. Because it had been there so long, it just became part of how I carried myself. My kids are slowly getting to know an uncle they barely remembered existing. We're not back to where we were before Dad got sick. I don't think that version of us is available to rebuild exactly. But we're something now which is more than we had for 15 years. And some days that's enough on its own. Tom came by again last weekend. No text warning this time, just a knock at the door like it was something we did regularly now, instead of something either of us had to work up courage for. I opened it without hesitating, the way you do for family. The way I used to before 15 years taught me to brace myself instead. "Hey," he said. Same low voice, a small grin this time instead of the wariness from that first March night. "Hey," I said back. "Come in, it's freezing out here." He laughed at that, recognizing it. The same exact words from the night everything started thawing between us. We sat at the same kitchen table, coffee this time actually getting drunk instead of going cold, talking about nothing important, the way brothers are supposed to be able to. I think about that first text sometimes. 3 words. "I'm outside," carrying 15 years of silence and just enough courage to finally end it. I'm glad I opened that door. I'm gladder still that he sent the text in the first place.